hopefully have taken a lot of courses with a lot of different professors, and you know who whose research methods and whose topics align with what you're doing. And so then I would say, go to those professors and ask them. I mean, that's what I did. And I actually, um, I asked one person to be my chair and they said no, but I'll serve on your committee. And that was good because, they were just like, this is not my area of expertise. So I can definitely be on your committee to kind of look at some things, but not, 100% behind it. And but yeah, that's basically what I did. Was when I realized that that's what I needed, was kind of that, you know, that rigorous support. Um when I wanted them to be like challenged, I wanted my work to be challenged, but I didn't want to feel personally attacked. I just kind of thought, well, who in the department would be like that? And that's how I picked my committee. But I also had someone from outside the department, which, depending on where you go to school, that I guess you'd have to see if that's like allowed or not. But yeah, I guess so. In that case, if you do what I did and you had undergrad and grad school at the same school, then I had lots and lots of people to choose from. But yeah, I would say just kind of, explore. And if you're very new in your PhD program, try to do that. Like learn about what the other professors in your department are writing about, what their research methods are about. Look at their CVs, and kind of talk to them, talk to their advisees, and kind of see what they're doing, and how they like their feedback. Because if you take a class with a professor, you should know fairly well how their feedback, like what their feedback style is like. And I think that that's a really good way to get to know the professor. And then they also will have a relationship with you already when you go to ask them. So it's not just kind of like a random student coming to ask if you can serve on their committee.
Yeah, so at the level of, like a bigger macro level of taking care of mental health and the mental health services for PhD student, now you look back on your experience, do you find any support at the departmental level or institutional level? Or if there should be ones, what kind of services do you think you wish that it existed when you were a PhD student?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that our department was good, and I think that what was the best part about it was their support of ETAP docs. Because I think that if again, if whoever's listening, if you're already in a program or you're looking to get into a program, or you're in your program and you don't have this, but a student group is really, really crucial. I mean, that was something that no, it wasn't there when I started, and that really, it was noticeable. And now to have students being able to go to events to learn about things, because when I went through it the first time, like we didn't know how to write any of
Yeah,
these
you
papers.
started this. I mean,
Yeah.
audience, Adele, it was the first ETAP Docs president, and I think she and the vice president held it for two terms, like two years, two academic year, right, Adele? Until
Mhm.
you graduated. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
why you think that like a student organization would help you a lot with your mental health? Exactly.
Yeah, because when, you know, it's great to have family support, it's great to have departmental support, it's great to have even a therapist support. But unless someone is really going through what you are going through in any area of life, but in this case, we're just talking about, PhD program, which is a challenging thing to go through. It's really nice to have someone that just understands, you know, you don't have to explain anything to them. And I think that professors, they do know what it's like, but it's been a long time for them. They're not actively going through it. And so sometimes not that they're not compassionate or empathetic, but it's just that they're not your peers or your professors. So it's nice to have a peer that can support you. So any kind of peer support things are really nice because they it's kind of that unspoken bond of just we're going through this together, we're going to get through it together. And a PhD program is different from any other program because you don't always graduate at the same time. And a lot of people don't graduate, their plans change in life and they end up doing different things. And so there's like a handful of people that have graduated already or are graduating soon that I started with. But, we've known each other in some capacity for over a decade now. And those people in some ways know me a lot better than like my best friends and family outside of the PhD program. So I think it's that understanding, that mutual understanding, I think is the key thing to having like a peer support for anything.
Yeah, and besides those support that you just mentioned, I also think like from your social media, you also show like you have like pets as well, right?
Yeah.
I knew that you have like a dog, but now you told me you also have cat. So I think those little things that keep your mind off the dissertation. So could you share a little bit about other, little things like you have in your life at that time, like how your
Yeah.
dog help you or your pet help you? How to be a mom to to your
To be
dog
a
help.
mom to them. Yeah. I do. I call them my kids. So like I mentioned earlier, like I'm not married. I don't have any human children. So for me, I've just, I've gone through the PhD program and I think it is important to have those little things. Like I have to take care of my dog. I have to take care of the cat. The cat's a lot easier. The dog, you have to walk, you have to feed him and everything. And so having little responsibilities like that, I look at my dog and he has no idea about the PhD program. He just knows that I feed him and I love him and I cuddle with him. And I'm gesturing to him right now because he's currently sleeping like under a blanket on my lap and my cat is next to me. And sometimes it's nice to just, like watch a show that you like or make some food. Like I love to cook. So making food is like you have to eat. And then, you know, it can be easy to get in the habit of ordering things. And I know not everyone likes to cook or can cook, but I really enjoy it. And so if if you do like to cook or if you want to start cooking, it probably will save money and which is like stress relieving too. And also it's just kind of like enjoyable. And I guess it's like also not really a total meditation, but you can't really be, texting or writing your dissertation while you're at the stove. You need to be focused on what you're doing. So anything that really takes your attention to somewhere else, I think that helps. So I'll do like tech-free walks with my dog where I'll leave my phone inside and I'll just go outside and actually listen to the sounds in the neighborhood and walk and just be with my dog, be present or like be present with the dog and the cat, even though they're just asleep. Um, it's just nice when like your mind is focused on one thing. So sometimes I'll read. I also like reading. Um, and making time for friends and family too, because the PhD is a marathon, not a sprint. It's not like it's just, oh, for this month I'm going to be kind of like holed up in my apartment and not talking to anybody. I mean, if you don't maintain friendships and relationships with family, then half a decade goes by and you haven't talked to them. And who knows what can happen in that time. So it's just like people move and, people pass away and different things happen. So it's important, I think, to kind of keep that in mind that even though the dissertation writing is important, doing your coursework is important, making time for those little things in life is also important. But it is hard because I do feel like at least I had that pull to no, but I have to write. But like I felt like this guilt if I wasn't working. So I think that's fairly common in PhD student life or maybe not. Maybe I'm just a very
Yeah, I
guilty
think
person.
some of the problem we are dealing with it, either we procrastinate, and the
Hmm.
thing is, it's like a dilemma, right? Like procrastinate doing something because we're trying to be perfect. But at the same time, if we don't, the only solution is we have to sit down and write. But another issue that we're dealing with is we work too hard. We're like workaholic, and we do not make friends, make time for friends and social circle. So I think self-care activities, like you say, are so important. And finding the balance between work and life is always very hard for PhD student, but you show that it's possible though. I mean, it's possible, but I think you also go through, a time in your life that is so kind of very hard to maintain that balance. How was your life during the time that you wrote the dissertation, like the schedule? How was this look like? And, like a lot of people, they will make sure that, for example, they have it like one specific time to sit down and to write. But some people, they would just like, they work on some days and the others they just couldn't write a word, and that's okay. So in your case, how was it look like, and how do you know which working style that would be healthy, for you, for example?
Yeah, that's a good question too, because that's something that's really hard, I think, is knowing like when to work, when not to work. And I don't work um on like a 9 to 5 schedule or or anything like that. For me, my focus kind of comes in waves. And so sometimes I would catch one of these waves and I would ride it for like 12 hours, and I would just all day, like maybe from noon to midnight, I'd be
Nice.
reading, writing, working. Um, but then some other times, um, you have a deadline and you're not on one of those waves and you have to force yourself to do it. And then sometimes other things happen. You want to go hang out with friends, or you just want to take a day off to just relax. And I think that for me, like not feeling guilty about that was so hard at first. But once I just gave myself permission and I said, you know what, Adele, today you're not going to be able to focus on anything because you have other stuff that needs to get done. You have a life, like the PhD is not your only thing. And for me, like it was very much tied to my identity. And I think that's why I, so it was my job. And I feel like because I do something that I'm so passionate about, it's hard to not be hard on yourself. Um, but giving yourself the permission to just say, you know what, today is not a work day. We're just going to not do anything. We're not going to purposefully not think about work. That's okay to do. And but what my life ended up actually looking like when I was writing the dissertation was I sort of became nocturnal because during the day I don't know what it was. I felt distracted by the sounds of people being awake and just different things. So I would start writing at about 10 o'clock at night and I would write until 4 a.m. And then I would go to sleep and I would sleep for like the whole morning. And then the early afternoon, I would like take care of my dog and eat and do whatever I needed to do. And at first I thought, oh no, like I have to get up early. I have to get up at 7 a.m. and write my paper and do this. But then I was like, why? Why do I need to do that? Like I'm teaching an online asynchronous course, so it's not like I have to be up for work at any specific time. Is that you know, an unorthodox time to be awake? Sure. But you know what? It worked for me for a few months, and that's how I got my dissertation done. So I think when I had I would have like not AirPods, I didn't have them yet because I got these as a graduation gift. But I would have like headphones in and then I'd have these big construction headphones on top of that. So I would listen to music and I listened to like EDM, like the dance music. I would listen to that while I wrote. And for some reason, oh, and I use the Pomodoro timer. I cannot go through this podcast without mentioning Pomodoro timer because it's like interval timer. That was my way of doing things. So that's what my life looked like.
Ah, I see. So it mean like just discover what works for you. So basically, when you're in the flow and when you know what matches, the way that motivate you to work on that kind of topic, then I think it becomes, productive and kind of more seamless. But when you think back about the moment that you start to write up the dissertation to the day that you defend, do you give an approximation of how long it would take you to finish that dissertation writing process?
Yeah, well, um, actually writing it, to be
Mm,
honest, only took a few months. Like actually writing. I defended my proposal in September of 2020, and I defended my dissertation in April of 2022. So I had to collect data, and that took a long time because of the pandemic. Most of that time in that like almost 2 years was trying to collect data because my original way of doing stuff in person, you couldn't do it through the IRB because it was not allowed during that time. So, everyone who does PhD or any kind of research knows that during the pandemic, you couldn't do human subject research. So, I had to do everything online, and that was really difficult because getting people to participate online voluntarily is very challenging. So, after I got all my data collected, I actually probably was only like 6 months. I think it was like I started writing probably in October, but I had the first three chapters basically done when I went into it because of the proposal. And then um but then after I would say after break that year, so like January to April, I really, really started writing. And then from middle of March to when I defended in the end of April, I basically did nothing else. So that was the time where I was like nocturnal and I was just writing at night and kind of existing by day. I don't think I saw any friends. I don't think I did anything because I just really needed to finish. So there is probably a bit of time where you do have to sort of become a recluse.
yeah, yeah. So I thank you, Adele, for sharing that because, there's some moment that we kind of feel like we isolated ourselves from surrounding world. But like we say in this episode that there's also, sometimes we also take time to eat and take time to even appreciate that, our pets are around us when we are actually working alone or just enjoy an EDM, song when you are working, for example. Those little moments are actually precious and take you there. So do you see like there's a lot of changes to your mental health, when you have the PhD dissertations in the process and when you're done? Do you see like, because I know like some people, they can feel differently with their high and lows in their emotion, right? But how's your emotion, went from being in the process and then on that day, and then when they congratulated you, like you're so relieved or you're so happy, compared with the process, or it's more like a still like a stable, calm way of dealing with, all highs and lows? How was your mental health
Oh,
change after that though?
yeah, it's a roller coaster. It's not definitely not calm and stable. And I think it's just, because my mood would be so dependent on how I felt I was doing. Even if I wasn't doing bad, if I felt I was doing badly, then I would feel bad about myself and think I wasn't good enough. Um, and then going into the dissertation, you kind of think like coming up to like those few days coming up to it, it's just I don't know. I think I was going from panicked to relieved to excited to scared, all every couple of minutes. And then actually during it though, I I think it was okay. I mean, I felt pretty good about it when I actually was there because I felt like my committee wasn't going to let me do it if if I was going to fail in front of everyone. I think usually your committee tries to make sure that you're ready when um, when they actually say, okay, we're good to defend. And it's not guaranteed, but you feel like, okay, well, if they think I'm good enough, then that's what I kept telling myself. If they think I'm good enough to defend now, then I'm gonna act like that. And then I think after I defended, like immediately after, I didn't tell anybody, I didn't do anything.
Even you don't tell your therapist.
No, I don't didn't tell anybody. The first thing I did, you know what I did? I drove to Starbucks and I
Yeah.
said, "Hi, can I have whatever coffee I wanted?" And I said, "And can you, instead of putting Adele on the cup, can you put Dr. Tui?" And I took a picture and I posted the picture on Facebook. And I did tell like my mom before and my dad probably, my parents, I mean, before posting. But that's what I did. That was like the first thing that I did.
That's the most unusual way to celebrate your doctorate, but it makes sense. Yeah, like you just need to, be calm and process the roller coaster you just take. Like, I remember, like, for example, you go to the theme park, and you're so
Yeah.
excited when it started, but when it ends, you have to some moment to stay grounded. Even your brain is somewhere.
Yeah.
So how was that coffee taste? Is that a coffee or a latte?
That was the first coffee I had as Dr. Tui. So it was amazing. And that's kind of, I guess, what it is I see, like, I'm still Adele, of course, and I don't go around making people call me doctor because that would be obnoxious. But, um, I was like regular Adele before, and then since then, you're doctor. And like you have that title that you earned, that nobody can take that away from you.
Mm.
And I think that it gives me, I think the biggest difference in like the underlying thing um, is confidence because now it's the uncertainty always came from a lack of confidence. And so now that I actually have the degree, not that I know everything because that would be also silly, but
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well, I did the thing that I said I was going to do. I wanted to get a doctorate my whole life and I actually did it. And that is very it's like an esteemable act. You feel self-esteem when you do something that you say you're going to do. At least for me. And so I did it, and it took years and years and years, but I finally finished. So I think that underlying thing is kind of like the biggest um, thing because I doubt myself a little bit less now, and I um, yeah, just generally feel better about my decisions and about my capability and at least when it comes to, linguistics and education. Not everything, but yeah.
Yeah, Adele, we are so proud of you as well. Um, so that's the journey and the story of Dr. Adele. Uh, your last name is Tohi
Tui.
Tui. Dr.
Yeah,
Adele Tui.
I was also kind of thinking I might get my last name changed before I get my doctorate. So it'll be something easy like Smith, but that didn't happen. So,
But that is something really how can I say personally touching to me to think about that because we went to a conference together in Paris at
hmm
that time and we were like I think just first or second years into the program like I would just picture even we did the PhD during our 20s, but it's just like we were little kids and like seeing you grow and become actually mature, like you described after the day that you finished what you promised, what you wanted to complete, was like a very inspiring thing to hear, Adele. So, if you could think of, the final message, for our talk today, our conversation today about mental health from the perspective of a person who have closed the chapters of writing a dissertation and successfully defended it, how do you send, the message to people who are still, in the process that you describe that, okay, a lot of uncertainties, what is the message gonna be like?
Yeah, I think that my main message is just to not give up on yourself. And also, though, it's okay to change your mind about things. Um, and that could take different forms. But I say don't give up on yourself. And I just wanted to clarify that that's not like never quit, because if you don't want to do something, then you
Yeah,
shouldn't
it's
do
two
it.
different things. Yeah.
Two different things, but don't give up because, it can, like, it will get done. If you just keep going and you keep doing the next thing that you need to do to get there. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. That's kind of um, the ancient wisdom that I guess is kind of my last message to everybody on this podcast, because it really is. It's like this whole series of it's a whole series of steps to getting your dissertation. It's done. It's just one foot in front of the other. And if you just keep doing that little by little, then it will happen. And some of those steps include not actively writing and include making time for yourself and self-care and different things. So it's a journey. And I think to finally conclude, I had this little picture next to my desk the whole time, and it was two different um roads, and it was a guy on a bike, like a little stick figure drawing. And the first road was what I think getting my PhD will look like. And it's just a straight shot from start to finish. And then the next one says what it actually looks like. And you see the guy at the bike, but now the path actually has like mountains and there's thunderstorms. And then he's like going over a tightrope and there's an alligator underneath. And it's just this ridiculous picture, but that's actually what it's like.
Yeah.
So if you feel like you're on a tightrope with the alligator underneath, just keep going. You'll make it to the other side and you'll get everything done, and it'll be okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Adele, for the conversation today. And we all enjoy what you have been sharing with us. That's so precious. And we will be back with more stories about the people who have completed the journey, who also accompany and always, encourage the people who are still in the journey. And we are all in this together. So thank you so much for your time, and we will see you in the next episode. Thank you.